Hello guys and welcome back to episode 8 of Traitors US, and I gotta say guys, it's getting really down to the wire now. I genuinely cannot see a world in which the Traitors win this series. I can't, purely because the faithful are actually very smart in this series. I don't know what's in the water, but this might be the smartest group of survivors we have ever had. Faithfuls that we have ever had in this castle or on any show around the world. So, without much further ado, let's get into the episode. Let's start talking about the main points and let's start talking about some of the gameplay. So, breakfast rolls around. They have murdered somebody. Who have they murdered? It is Bergie. It is Bergie, unfortunately. Well, I say unfortunately, fortunately, because I genuinely want to see the downfall of Peter's group. I don't know how I'm vibing with the whole cliquey nature of them. It does really feel a little bit OP, the fact that they are all very certain that they are not traitors, and they're right, obviously, and I think that's what's really tripping me up, because we've never had a close-knit group of faithfuls without there being at least a traitor in the mix. So, how is Bergie's death going to impact the group? Well, it's a number lost on the side of Peter, which is important to note, but also it does give the impression that maybe somebody in Peter's group is pulling the strings, and I think there's a lot of people a little bit concerned that Peter could actually be the person behind all of this. I gotta say, it is a big move, but obviously everyone is pretty much convinced that Parvati is a traitor, and it's just down to her steely Ice Queen exterior. She doesn't exhibit any warmth, and whilst that may work on shows like Survivor, when you're trying to trick people into believing that you're innocent and faithful, but you're walking around like steely cold all the time, it doesn't really put people in the best frame of mind when thinking about you. I don't know whether that's just me, but it isn't great, and that's kind of the issue here. So, we have a little bit of another plot going on, and that is the plot to get rid of Phaedra. Trishelle is convinced that Dan was giving them a nugget of information, throwing a traitor's name out there before he himself was evicted. Evicted? That was how it happens in Big Brother. Before he was banished from the castle. And I think that this was actually a big clue that I'm surprised anyone picked up on. It's not often that this happens in the show, where the faithfuls really do pick up on everything that they need to pick up on. And Trishelle was exactly that person. However, the problem does come now with the fact that Trishelle and Peter are kind of competing for votes. And it does look a little bit suspicious, because then Peter's like, okay, maybe we should vote out Phaedra and keep Parvati, because Parvati is not going to be a threat to us because we know that she's a traitor. Whereas if we can shoot on Phaedra and be correct, then we've got all of the traitors out of the game. It's a very interesting, smart choice, but this is going to have severe repercussions if it's not handled correctly. So the issue now comes with Peter's second part of the plan, where he's going to try and lull Parvati into a false sense of security. I don't know what the aim of this was, because it just made Parvati even more suspicious, because he sat down with her and he was like, I'm starting to think that you're not a traitor. And she was like, bullshit. She didn't say that to him, obviously, but she was like, bullshit. There's no way that you've suddenly just changed your mind. You're thinking completely differently now. That is not what's happening. And that's when he drops the fact that he believes it's Phaedra, and you can see her go, oh my god, they've got it. They've completely cracked the riddle. And in episode 8 as well, there's still 3 more episodes. I'm in pure disbelief and shock at what's happening. I am genuinely surprised. So honestly, I don't really know what to do with this information now. Like, what do you mean we're in episode 8 and they're already, like, at the end of the mental game, the working out who is the traitors? Someone needs to be recruited ASAP, and it needs to be someone that's just completely framed as innocent. It's an interesting choice, but I think Peter's strategy is going to backfire on him, if I'm being honest. So, the escape room challenge. This was something that I really loved in the first series, and I'm glad they brought it back for the second series. And this escape room was very much similar to the UK version. The UK version felt a little bit less, I would say a little bit more frantic, in the sense that, like, I felt the determination and the energy just like, whoo, the whole time. But the issue came with the fact that a lot of people just didn't want to do it. They kind of all got in there, they realized what it was about, they realized it was an escape room, then they realized they had to go in the dark, and then they were throwing bugs on them, and it was just wasn't a great time. And obviously Kate's already been through this once, so she was just absolutely not, I hate this, I hate this. Trishelle absolutely smashed it. She was doing really well. I'm fairly certain that Trishelle actually got the shield at the end. I'm fairly certain that's what happened. But they did do decently well. I think they managed to make 11 grand out of the like 20 grand they were meant to. They actually brought back 15 grand, but because 4 people quit the challenge. Oh my god, that is a fly. That absolutely scared the life out of me. I was like, what is that? But yeah, on the whole, I thought it was a really entertaining challenge. Everyone kind of brought some nice energy to it. There was a lot of good moments. I did feel really bad for, I think it was Kevin. It was either Kevin or Peter that was on the light switch for the longest, when the girls just were like, nah, we're out. The girls that left were Sheree, Kate, MJ, and Phaedra. But everyone else bossed it. Everyone else made it out. And like I said, they managed to get 15 out of the 20k. But obviously they lost 4 grand because 4 people quit. So yeah, I was impressed. It wasn't a great performance, especially with the girls quitting. But like, what are you going to do about it? What are you actually going to do? So, before we head into the round table, there were some interesting things that were happening. The whole plan for the majority of the house was vote out Parvati. Vote out Parvati. And then Trishelle's going around going like, nah, we need to vote out Phaedra. And Peter's hopping on that. And suddenly you've got people going, well, hang on a minute. Why were you so sure it was Parvati yesterday, and now you're switching it up and being like, yo, I think it's Phaedra? That just seems suspicious. And like they said, the issue with Phaedra currently is that there's a lot of support behind her. Not many people believe that she is a traitor. So getting her out is going to be a lot more difficult than getting out Parvati. So I don't know why they didn't just save this for the next episode and then go on from there. It just seems like a misguided attempt to divert attention away, or almost like if they keep Parvati, then they've got a sure victory next time, but now's the time to take the shot right now. I don't really know what the plan is. What's the plan, Phil? Do you know what I mean? It's just not ringing true in my ears. But obviously Parvati's doing her best to try and make reparations and go around to people and be like, I'm so sorry for being so steely and icy and this and that. And it's just not washing currently with a lot of people, which is a shame because I do like Parvati and I think she did play this game decently. But then again, I just feel like the faithfuls of, like I said in the last video, outwitted and outsmarted her. So, this does bring us to the round table, and this round table was crazy because the only 2 people that came under fire were Phaedra and Parvati. Parvati started by explaining how she changes her behavior when she comes under fire. She likes to do it to protect herself. And I think on the whole, I get where she's coming from. I understand what she's saying, but I think it's just the wrong approach to this style of game. When you're playing a social manipulation game and you're acting icy, steely, just cold the entire time, there's no sort of emotion in you. I don't think it bodes very well with the other players. I think you've gotta fake the reactions. You've gotta have those heartwarming moments. You've gotta really, really play the game. And currently, I don't feel like she is playing the game. So then we have Trishelle being like, "Yo, I have a long list of notes for Phaedra. Here is my list of notes. First of all, you're very nervous, or you're never nervous. You are never ever nervous." And Phaedra's like, "Honey, you may be nervous, but I'm not frantic. You have frantic energy. You are here, you're there, you're everywhere. I don't have that. I don't need that in my life." And I was like, okay, that's a decent point. Okay. But like also there are other people I feel who aren't particularly nervous all the time. I don't feel like Sandra exhibits nervous energy. I don't feel like Sheree exhibits nervous energy. I don't feel like CT exhibits nervous energy. So it's not really a valid excuse or reason at this point in the game. Then you have a second point. "Oh, I think that Dan dobbed you in. I feel like Dan knew we needed a traitor, and so he threw your name out there as the person to expose." And again, I was like, do I really believe that in my heart of hearts that he was doing that because he knew they needed a traitor? Probably. Honestly, probably. Because if they'd have listened to him and got Phaedra out, it would have made him look heroic and kept him in the game. I don't know why he didn't turn on Parvati. I don't know why he decided to go for the hard sell of Phaedra. But it is where it is. And now it's kind of exposed Phaedra for that as well. She didn't really have much of a rebuttal to that. But Kate did bring up last year's game in which I think it was Cody did something similar. And she was like, it didn't work out because he tried to throw someone under the bus that wasn't actually a traitor. And therefore we voted them out, and they were absolutely sound. They were a faithful. So it doesn't always work like that. I think it's an interesting idea. It's just not currently what's happening. Then Kevin and Trishelle brought up Phaedra's eye twitch, which again I feel like is a really stupid reason to believe somebody is a traitor. There is no way in my mind that you can say, "Oh, you're a traitor because your eye twitches when you talk." Sorry, what? Huh? That's not valid. That is not valid. In this court of law where I don't have a gavel, but if I did, I'd be banging it and going, "Nope, objection overruled. Get out of here. That was a bad claim." That's just not, that's not anything. That's not even evidence. Why are you bringing it to my table? So this was where the conversation flipped and it turned into, let's blame Parvati. John was like, "Yo, I believe that Parvati is the silent murderess of the night." The way he talks, it's like he's in a Dickensian novel. I love it. I feel like he adds so much drama and flair to the show, and it is really entertaining hearing him describe people in this way. He was like, "You feel really serene about murder." And when I was looking around the group yesterday about who to save with the shield, you chose to say nothing. Why? And she was like, "I'm not going to be murdered. Let's be 100% honest. There is no reason for me to have a shield because I'm faithful, but I'm being accused like day after day after day of being a traitor. So the traitors are not going to get rid of me because that's an easy banishment for them." And I was like, that is a very, very valid point. And I feel like people didn't really think about that. They're just so convinced that she's a traitor that they didn't think about maybe the traitors are manipulating them and making them feel like Parvati is actually a traitor when she's not. Obviously she is, but like there's got to be other there's got to be other things to think about here. Like, at the end of the day, not everything is 100% black and white. They're not all just traitors and faithfuls. Well, they are, but you know what I mean. Then Kate was bringing up the fact that it's a little bit suspicious that everyone is now suddenly switching onto Phaedra rather than Parvati. It feels like yesterday, Peter, Kevin, Trishelle, they were all 100% Parvati, and now it's like, oh, now it's Phaedra. And this is when Phaedra was like, oh yeah, that's because Parvati and Peter have made a deal. And I was like, huh? And then I remembered in the previous episode, Peter pulled both Phaedra and Parvati into a room and proposed I think it was like an alliance or something, which I found really, really odd. And that was when Phaedra sort of left. And it was like an interesting moment because she brought it up and it made Peter look really, really suspicious. Like, why are you making deals with someone that you think is a traitor? That looks suspicious. That's not okay. And then when the whole point about, oh, I think Dan bought Phaedra up, Kate was like, no, I don't think he's that smart. He sucked at the game. And I was like, do you know what, Kate? You absolutely are correct. He did suck at this game and he was bad at the game. So I don't blame you for bringing that up. So voting time was actually a lot more split than I thought it would be. MJ voted for Parvati. Phaedra voted for Parvati. Sandra voted for Parvati. Peter voted for Phaedra. John voted for Parvati. Parvati voted for Phaedra. Kevin voted for Phaedra. Trishelle voted for Phaedra. Sheree voted for Parvati. CT voted for Parvati. And Kate voted for Parvati. It was crazy. Obviously, I knew Parvati was going home, but I didn't expect 4 out of the 11 votes to be for Phaedra. That's kind of crazy. Because not only that, but she could be next on the chopping block. Who knows? So that does bring us to the final little twist of the episode. Do you want to find out who was chosen to be the next recruit? It's an interesting one, and I'm really happy personally, because I know she's going to accept. Essentially, it was a choice between join the traitors or be the murder that night. Like, that was literally the choice given to Kate. We don't know what her decision is. I haven't seen it. I haven't watched the next episode yet. I'm assuming she says, yeah, sure, because there's no way she wants to be murdered. Let's be honest. She wasn't murdered in the first round. She's not going to be, in her first, go at this game, she's not going to be murdered this go round. So I think having Kate on board is going to really, really make this interesting. I think Phaedra's out. She's not making it to the final. She's definitely not winning the game because I feel like she's allowed her fellow traitors to make bad decisions that have exposed her. And therefore, it's just causing her a big kerfuffle. But if Kate does manage to slip under the radar, she could win this. And that is kind of iconic. I would love to see Kate win this show. I wanted her to win the previous season, but obviously she wasn't a traitor, so she couldn't win because Sari was so good at the game. But yeah, I am very excited. So, that is all we've got time for today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, doing all those YouTube stuffs that you guys do so well. And I will see you guys in the next episode, whenever that may be. But until then, keep on ranting. Bye now.